Yes.
Did they finish the one over here?
Yeah.
All right, it's 6:30. We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Oh, I see. And roll call, everybody is present. And let's join with Jill on the invocation.
Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to come together for the city of Granger, make some decisions that hopefully are for the better and the good of all of our citizens. We ask that in this time of year you bless our families and be with those who are traveling, be with our law enforcement and special people that get out and do emergency work. We ask that you be with our nation and our government and that you help this county and the city do the best that they can to be a part of the state of Texas. Lord, we ask that you be with the weak and those who are in need, and that you forgive us for our sins. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. Join with me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comments on Monica's for John.
Okay, I just wanted to inform everyone that on behalf of the city of Granger, I will be attending the CapCog General Assembly meeting and workshop all day long on Wednesday, December the 13th.
Helen Savannah? If you wouldn't mind, so we get it on the recording, if you come up to the microphone, that way the public wants to know.
Yes.
Keep us legal.
Okay. My question is, what is the criteria for homeowners to keep their overgrown trees and bushes trimmed and upkept? We've got a neighbor to the east of us. They've got trees, they've got bushes, and they're all coming across the alleyway, and they've almost made it to our fence line, which is a long way. So I didn't know, is there something that can be done? Do we need to send out some kind of notice to these people?
We can't answer back because of the way it works, but what I'll do is I'll get with Andrew and we'll look at it.
Because it has steadily gotten worse. It's just like a forest on my east side.
Could you give us the that's all
I have to
right.
think what the street is. It's Lamb Street, but I think it's like Birds. Is it Bird? You know which house I'm talking about, White House.
Yeah, it's on Bird Street.
Yeah, it's right down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Announcements, we're going to start with ACDBG and GLO grant updates.
Scott Murray's not here. He gave us the update today. I just wanted to update the council on some of the things that we've run into with regard to the lift station. The contractor put it in at an angle. It wasn't in proper. So we've had to have the Scott Murray actually make contact with the installer. They dug it back out and re-leveled it. So the next step in the process will be to install the pumps and then make the connections from the old lift station to the new lift station. I don't have timeline for you on that. The other thing that we're waiting for is Encore. We've been working with their engineers. That particular plant had to have three-phase power, and there was not three-phase power near that area for them to draw to. So we had to have an engineer from Encore make the design and submit a proposal. So it's going to be a change order on our grant for a little over $18,000. We just got that quote today. We sent it off to Scott, and he approved it and said that the GLO grant will pay for it. So it's not coming out of the city's funds for that. I do believe that we're still in the green as far as transferring some of that grant money over to the Pecan Street Bridge for the work that we had to do on the water line. So I think we're all still in the green on that. As far as the Pecan Street Bridge goes, I've been insisting with Scott that we move this up to a timeline. Right now, they're kind of working us in between jobs, and a lot of it has to do with Harvey. So they're working out on the coast. If they have a load coming this way, or if they have a deadhead going that way, they kind of split us in between their other jobs. But we really need to nail them down and get it finished.
On that lift station, that's all, CDBG money, not GLO, right?
Correct.
You said transfer from GLO.
I'm sorry. They're all mixed together in my mind.
No, I just want to make sure, so.
Grant updates November 2017.
Good evening, council. Okay, I'm sure you've heard the news. We did not get the next phase of the Texas Preservation Trust Fund grant for the City Hall. But if you saw the letter that I put in your packet that we received from them, we knew that they were going to pay special attention to our friends on the coast after the hurricane, and they decided to pay all of their attention to our friends on the coast. So we'll all be patient, wait the next round. The next pre-application for the next phase of that grant, the 2019 grant, will be due the end of January, and I've already started. So we'll jump back in there and hope that they'll be ready to reconsider next November. Okay. We submitted the Firehouse Sub grant on November 30th, and we requested $16,024 specifically for 2 full sets of bronchial care and the AEDs. I'm afraid they may go the same way again in this cycle, with paying special attention to communities where they have restaurants along the coast. So, like I said, again, we just have to be grateful and continue to look at other areas for funding, and that's fine. RC&D funding, we're almost through the $6,666 that we received from the RC&D, my bad, for illegal cleanup. Things are looking really, really good. The community seems to be also paying more special attention to their own properties. And, you know, they already had a huge community commitment based on the kind of turnout you see for your spring cleanup and your fall cleanup. So we're anxious to see what we can do with that as we move into a new partnership we'll talk more about with the RC&D and see if we can't help out in other ways than ever. The park grant is due on February 1st. I'm still working on writing for that one. And since we are talking about the RC&D, I'm also looking at ways we can include that with the 501c3 option and help other communities in the same area. The Texas Main Street program, I've just been making sure that I take specific notes on all the incredible growth and new changes in action that have been happening in the community. I'm already starting to round up items that are going to be included on the list for the application to that program, And I know that, our friends at the Texas Historical Commission are paying attention. They're starting to notice how much press coverage we're getting, things that are unsolicited, the new ISP. All of these things are gonna make this entire process go a little bit faster than we anticipated, actually. Last but not least, we went to the Texas Municipal League Economic Development Conference in November. And last year, we didn't realize when we went that that was only the second time that TML had done an economic development conference. And it was good information then, but this year, they were really on their game. And we took 3 members of the MDD with us, and we went, and it was just a huge amount of fantastic information. It really was obvious to us how much the state of Texas is truly committed to the growth of small towns in a very productive manner. We came away with so many resources, so many things to pull up. I mean, if you want to bore yourself silly with 9 million PowerPoint presentations, email me and I will send them to you. And on everything from tourism to resources. Fantastic opportunity. So we were really impressed with the information. And I think the MDD members really came away feeling like they had a better idea of exactly what they could do for the community as well. Questions? All right.
Thank you. Fire Department report for November 2017.
There were 24 calls month of November, 16 medical assists, 4 automobile collisions, 2 outside fires, 1 medical assist mutual aid. We also had 1 vehicle equipment fire. Squad 1 had to be towed to the shop, currently on striking. November was a good month for the fire department overall. They are in the process of doing their VFD gun raffle, which will be drawn in February. So make sure that if you still want to fire department guys, talk to them about doing it.
Utility Department report for November 2017.
So we repaired 3 water leaks, repaired 1 water main, replaced 6 meter leaks, monthly meter readings, monthly flushing, 12 water connects, 4 water disconnects. We ran 1 sewer line, capped 3 sewer lines. We got the cemetery and all the mowing in town. We did replace the flag for the cemetery. We had a mower donated to us and we got it repaired and are using it. We did the citywide cleanup. Repaired 2 stop signs. They sprayed the streets, tried to get the grass off of there. We installed our new gate rails at the wastewater plant. And the Walnut House that's being tore down, we went ahead and tore the fence out, got it prepped to do that. We put all the ornaments up and decorated the park. We were given the police truck, we stripped the decals off it and put it in service. And we started working on our lot by the wastewater plant. We did a locate, and all 3 of the utility members have gotten their water D license.
Thank you so much.
Can I ask a question? I had someone approach me from the gym. Are we requesting to put a fence up over there?
Do what?
Are we requesting a fence to be put up around something?
We may. It all depends on how well they keep their stuff off the property.
We haven't looked at, we don't need to put a fence up right now, but they're putting things.
They were piling all their stuff in the back of our watershed.
So,
And that had to stop.
Okay.
So,
Okay. They got a letter, okay, and I did approach.
I'm just to let them know
Yeah.
that is our property. And if they cannot keep their stuff off of that spot, we will have to fence it. Because if we get inspected, we are expected to have our property maintained and clean. So,
we own a sizable piece of that, but the gym has been using it. So,
Okay,
so if everything goes well, we won't have to fence
okay. My suggestion, I think a letter kind of offended them, that they thought they were getting told, don't do it. They asked, how come we can just have someone come and just talk to us about it? We would, you know, we do what we have to do.
We did.
You did?
Yes.
You didn't talk to the president of the agenda, who'd you talk to?
I talked to the mayor.
Yakuza?
Doug.
Yeah.
I spoke to him, and he said, yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
And then, yeah, it didn't get done.
Didn't? Okay.
And then we got to resort to the letter.
I'll let the people that are in charge of him know that.
And, you know, we only did the letter to make it official.
Yeah, well, that's what I told him. He says, but you can't just come talk. I said, let me find out.
And we're still got the trucks being parked right against our fence that have diesel tanks on it.
I'll take care of that.
them.
I'll let him know. Thank you.
I'm gonna make a statement. Last year, we got hired. We mentioned Christmas ornaments for us. This first year, I never heard not complaining about it, about Christmas. Again, this year, you got them up. Good job. Thank y'all for everything you're
Yeah, that's much appreciated. I agree. And the cemetery looks awesome, and the work that's being done out there. And congratulations to Wayne, Perry, Clayton Hunt. Yeah. Congratulations to all of you for your Class D water licenses.
Police Department report for November 2017.
Calls are up. Citations are down due to the holidays, back to school are closed. I did want to point out the savings I thought we were going to have with the new truck is already apparent. If you look at the miles per gallon as opposed to the older truck, which didn't get very good gas mileage at all. So it's apparent that vehicle is going to be a good thing for us to save us some money in the long term. And of course, we endeavor to get the old vehicle turned over to Frank as rapidly as possible to assist him and the guys that come to work with their endeavors too.
Thank you, Chief. City Administrator report for November 2017.
Council, there's a lot of things I want to address to you. I want to dovetail on a little bit of what we've been talking about going on at the water plant. Frank and I have been making plans to make sure that when we do our water valve replacements out of the water plant, that it is during the scheduled holiday for the school district. On Wednesday, we're going to have somebody come out from Utility Tank Services to pre-dig the site and see about and estimate how much time we're going to need and what we're going to need before we even start getting the water turned off. Frank, you and I have been talking a little bit about how much time we're going to need for water surface repairs and how long we will be without water. Would you kindly inform the council how much time we're going to need?
Well, providing we don't run into any snags, we would probably be without water for 8 hours. What we're going to do is try to drain the tank, and as soon as we get it drained, we're going to start taking the valves out, putting new valves in, putting new line in, get everything all connected, and time is going to cost us if I have to refill that tank. That's where we're going to lose time, because I have to fill that tank in order to get us back in water. We had virtually none of the isolation valves working, so everything has to be done. I'm hoping they, but you know, there again, it all depends on what happens. We are dealing with old AC line, and are tying into the line, so we just have to do the best we can and efficient as we can. What I'm going to try to do is set it to where we run out of water late night, so that I can work during the night and get it back up and running. be a little offshoot on the hours, but that would work out best for everyone. So I'll try to keep everybody in water until about 9, but I have to discuss with the contractor and see if he's willing to go ahead with that.
And so we'll have more information about what date we plan on doing this, and then we'll start actively publicizing it on our billboards and on the website, Facebook, after Wednesday. So Thursday, Friday, you should start seeing the notifications.
Yeah, even I consider the fact that we're gonna be out of water. I think I probably will continue to work and study until it's back up, just as a fire watch.
Absolutely.
Anybody else have any questions? Or?
Well, on the mandatory state training for the public funds, this is required by the Public Funds Investment Act. It should be pretty obvious that the state wants to make sure that the people that you put in charge for your money, if they invest, and they should, there's a lot of reasons why we should be investing. It helps keep our property taxes low. It helps fund future projects. And this is something that I alluded to back in June and July when I said we would start doing some work on this as soon as we got our credit score rating and we got through the public funds investment training. Then I would move forward with a policy to present to the city council. So this is what I came back with. This is the manual. 2 days of training with this. What it requires is that we have adopt by resolution a policy, an investment policy. You designate your investment officer, and that does not necessarily have to be me. It stands to reason that I'm your best choice, but if the city council wanted a different person to be investment manager, you could certainly do that. What I learned in the training is that we're losing a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of missed opportunities we are not taking advantage of. One of the good things that the city council did in 2011 was that municipal bond. It's earning a little over 4%, which is a phenomenal rate, but you have to lock up your money for 10 years. So it meant that your liquidity in that particular fund is zero. You have $550,000 on the books, but you can't spend it until after 2021. But you're not going to earn as much money in shorter term investments. So it was a wise decision as long as you didn't need that money. But we're coming into the phase and period of time where I can see us having bond matching and having other needs as the city grows. We might have future projects where we have to install sewer lines and water lines to meet the growth and demand that come, and that would be available for those type of projects. So it's good that you have it, and it's something that I don't think anybody was aware that was there. But here's some of the things that we aren't doing that we should be doing. We get our tax revenues pretty much in a lump sum between October and January. By the end of January, all that money comes in and it's sitting in a pot in liquid form in the checking account. And it's only earning a small percentage. Okay? We don't spend it all in January. It's not spent until the end of the fiscal year. So for a period of time, that money is just sitting unspent, and it could be invested in short-term securities, CDs. Those are the kinds of things that the city council will need to tell me what your risk tolerance is, how much money you would like to make on a percentage yield, annual yield, 1%, 2%. We can try and invest that money in segments. As we need it, it becomes liquid. But it's there earning you $5,000, $10,000 versus nothing. So that's what we learned. All of the examples that we're going to need for the resolution, we have that all right here in this file. So it's pretty much a cut and paste and then fill in the blanks as you need. So I want you to be thinking about this in January, February. That's when we're going to move forward with that. So moving on to NPI, any questions about how that's all going to work? I'll be glad to sit. I spent some time, meeting with a few of the committee members who are very interested in moving forward with our ordinances. They definitely have ideas about where we should go and how we should craft these ordinances. We're starting to gain momentum. Unfortunately, I got sick, and that was one of the things that we just weren't able to accomplish this period, but we haven't lost focus. Our economic development plan, I was very, very pleased with this one. I think the training was much better than the year before, as Ms. Norris has stated. We learned a lot about what the MDD can do, how they can do it, and where they can do it. I think there's a lot of fear in terms of what the MDD can and should do, because it's sort of like, we've been told, and we've all been schooled for years, that the city can't go out and get business. The city can't do this. The city can't do that. Well, that's true if you think of it in terms of what the traditional part of the city cannot do. The MDD is different. It has a lot more authority. The final authority is with the city council. So there's nothing that the MDD could do before a final decision is reached by city council that's going to hurt. They can enter in negotiations. They can put up contracts that allow city employees to bring economic growth and development. It's not official until the city council makes it official. So even if they're taking risks and making assumptions that aren't necessarily true, we're going to know about it well before we get to the point where we make final decision on their proposals. So I want the MDD to feel like they have a lot more freedom than they're currently taking. So I've encouraged them to start thinking outside the box, start doing some of their own homework. My hope is that they're primed, they're ready to go on their own. You know, it's not something that I need to manage or should manage. The MDD is completely separate. They have their ID numbers so that they can open up a checking account. We're ready to give them the money. As far as the conference goes, the city had paid for some of the hotel expenses and food expenses. And then once they have their accounting set up and ready to go, we expect to be reimbursed for that, for the MDD. So that hasn't happened yet, so you may see some expenses that were for that particular conference, but as soon as they're set up and ready to go, we will make those transfers and make it. The debt refinancing. I really want to let the council know this was a very wise decision. We're looking at doing better than the $75,000. That's a low estimate. When we talked to the PFM advisor, Blake Roberts, our closing costs are actually going to be less than what he printed on paper. He put it there just in case, but it's actually going to be about $3,000 under what he quoted us. So I think over 5 years, I think this is a very significant number. It allows us to invest money in the future and grow our money faster. So extremely wise investment. Our package upgrade, I feel like our audit should take priority, and our auditor that we selected over the month, they are ready to move. They're ready to get our data and get going. It's an intensive process. An audit by them is going to take about 3 to 4 weeks of their presence on site, going through our files, asking us questions, having research done. So this is going to take a significant amount of everybody's time in the office to answer their questions and sit with them. So it's going to be a situation where the auditors are going to be in our way, so to speak. They're not, but they're going to be with us. So I feel like our package is great. We set aside the money, we closed the contract with them, but I'm moving the dates out to February and March for site work. Is there any questions about anything that we've discussed so far? There's one last thing that I wanted to address on citizen comments. I wanted to take the opportunity to explain how that process works for everybody. There isn't a problem unless somebody complains. And the mayor and I have discussed this prior to, and the chief has made me aware of these. There are situations where property owners are elderly, without family members, without the resources to maintain their properties. But they shouldn't be under the law. the technicality of the law, the letter of the law. They shouldn't be treated any different than anybody else who isn't maintaining their property. On the other hand, you have some people who have the ability, but no follow. So, in order for me to feel more comfortable about actively pursuing going after some property owners who are falling down and taking care of their property, I would like to see more volunteerism to help the elderly that don't have the resources to take care of their property, get them the help that they need, and then we slowly move forward with getting it out there, the idea that you're supposed to maintain on the property. Now, the case law and the state law converge to define streets, alleys, and rights of ways, and I have said this for 18 months. The streets and the alleys are essentially the same thing. They are public rights of way. The state, once they're dedicated by plat, the state owns those rights of way. What that means is it's there to allow property owners further down the street access to the property. Okay? They belong to the state of Texas. And cities like this one, unless it's home rule, are general law. That means the state of Texas has written general laws that grant the cities the authority, not the duty, the authority to go in and keep them clear for people who need access to their property. They also grant the authority for cities and utility companies to install services in those rights of way underground. Unless somebody needs to get through, it's not our duty to keep them clear. If somebody wants to get through a street or an alley, and for the sake of the law, an alley is effectively a street. So let's just call it a street. If it's an alley, it's a street. It's just a narrow street. If somebody wants to get through to their property, and the alley is overgrown, or if there's a street that's blocked by some tree or a building, a structure, bricks, weeds, they have every right to clear it. And we've said this in our newsletter, and we've said this over and over again. This is provided by TML. They have brochures and pamphlets that say exactly the same thing. I want to make it clear. If the alleys and the streets are blocked or need to be cleared, residents, non-residents can clear them. So if you have a situation where a big farm piece of equipment needs to get down a road, and there are trees overhanging the road, and the farmer wants to clear the trees so that he can get his farm implement through, he has every right to do that. Granted, he can't keep the streets blocked for indefinite periods, and it would be wise for that person to make arrangements with the police department to redirect traffic. But they can clear the trees. Technically, the law sees it this way. If there's a street adjacent to a person's property, the property owner owns the property to the middle of the street. And vice versa, the adjacent property owner, they own to the middle of the street. But they can't block it. They have to leave it open for people to be able to pass through. This is true whether it's paved or unpaved. You have some streets and roads and alleys in the city of Granger that are unpaved, that have brush on them. If somebody wanted to come through from the city of Temple and clear that alley because they wanted to get to a piece of property that they were thinking about buying, they could go in with mowers and clear it out. So it's not the city's responsibility. We have the authority if a tree limb falls over a road and it's a major thoroughfare and the residents don't have the resources to get through. We don't want to create emergency situations where emergency services cannot get to a resident. Then we have the right and the duty to go through and clean it up. But as long as it's passable, or as long as nobody cares, we don't have to get involved. So going back to how well people maintain their own properties, again, this is how it works. We ask them nicely in a letter. And it doesn't, going back to your issue about the gym, it doesn't happen unless it's written. You know, we can say to you that we talked to the manager but if that manager says to you, they never talked to us, it's a he said, she said kind of thing. So in order to cover the cities, we send a letter. We don't mean to be nasty, and if you read the letters we send, we are extremely nice.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad, it was, he just felt that they could just be talked to.
I
But
understand.
he doesn't, I guarantee you don't know the manager that talks to.
So here's the thing. We send letters to people saying you have tall grass, or you need to cut your trees back off the roof line, or whatever the case may be. And for the record, 6 inches is the height of grass in our ordinance. So we send them a nice letter saying, okay, you need to mow your grass. You got 30 days to comply, or 45 days, or 2 weeks, however long we give them. We usually give them 30 days. And we generally say it's because somebody complained. It's not because we go out and look for weedy lots to go complain. It's because somebody came to us and said, I don't like the way their yard looks, it's too tall. Okay, so then we send a letter saying somebody complained, you have tall grass, mow it in 30 days. If they don't mow it, we can send them to issue a citation and bring them to court. The judge could then hear their case and say, okay, well, you need to keep it mowed, this is what the law says, give them an education. They could disregard the court order. Are we going to throw them in jail? No. What we're going to do at that point is, if it's really that big of a problem, we will go and mow it. But we can't go and mow people's property until we've gone through the process. So if we've gotten to the point where we've given them the nice letter, we've sent them to a citation, they didn't come to court, we then can go and mow the property and send them a bill. If they don't pay that bill, then we file a lien on the property. And if we have to keep going through this process, then we keep adding the liens. When the property sells, if there's all these liens on there, before the property can transfer title, that means that the person buying the property has to pay off those city liens. And that's when the city gets its money. So when we do our budget, and I include property demo or property cleanup budget line item, that's what that's for. We bill the people, but very often we know that we're not going to get paid for it. So we just create a budgeted line item for it. But as I was saying earlier in this discussion, I want the council to be aware that until I feel comfortable with the fact that there's a group of citizens in the community willing to help out the neighbors that need the assistance, meaning the elderly and disabled, who don't have their own resources, I feel a little reluctant to go forward and start the process of being more of the enforcer. So we're building to it, but we're not quite there.
Is there any way that we can identify the needy ones that have a problem?
I think we've already identified those people. As I understand it, Chief Shelton got to town, he was instructed to start code enforcing. And I think through that particular process, we were able to identify those people.
So if there was a group that needed to or wanted to come help, these people would just need to come see the chief and say, who needs it first?
I would suggest that. We've also talked to Sherry Spiegelhauer at the Granger Housing Authority. She came in saying that there is a requirement for certain individuals in that area that have community service. And she asked if there were community service opportunities should anybody need or want to come to the city with those. And we definitely could use that as an opportunity.
Yeah, we need to get some equipment to get it up to go help them, help others.
And it is covered by our insurance.
It's approximately like 6 houses,
Chief Shelton, do you remember how many elderly people in town that don't have the resources to maintain the property?
Yeah, I think my last estimate, there was about 17 or 18 properties, where I identified people who were so destitute or so elderly, that they did not have sufficient assistance to take care of the property. And we make a point of checking on our, what I refer to as our elderly shut-ins almost on a weekly basis. We maintain a book closest relative or contact they had, can do that in person. And, that's something we started doing at shortly after
If the housing authority lady, what's her name again?
Sure.
Sherry. Can you get back in touch with her and tell her that it's community service?
As a matter of fact, when we talked to her today, the reason why she asked was she told these individuals to come to City Hall and ask us if we had volunteer opportunities. And she came to verify that they actually showed up. And when we told her no, that they did not show up, then she realized she was being lied to. So her next mission in life is to bring them with her to City Hall and say, now ask your question, because we're prepared to say we have volunteer opportunities.
Yeah. Okay. If those come through, would you notify me, let me know that there's people that are willing to help that need some direction?
That's it. Anybody have any questions?
I think probably the reason Helen asked is because if they were to go and cut some of these bushes to make room,
You can't get through the alley, and that's how bad it is.
yeah, that homeowner can't come out and pull a gun on her and say, hey, you can't do that.
I know a couple of alleys here in town where people had old trailers parked on them, so they've been parked there for at least 3 years.
This has steadily gotten worse and worse. It's the house on the corner, the house right next to it. And trees and bushes are taller than us.
Yeah, I would
Like I
suggest,
said, they're about that blocking being on my fence.
if you're concerned about a property owner threatening you, but you definitely want to take your own initiative, my suggestion would be to let us know at City Hall, let the police department know that you're going through that alley. If you need help identifying where the alleys are exactly, we'd be happy to help you identify that on plats, on the Wilco plats, so that you can be sure to avoid other people's property.
Well, when they moved in, they started, they were going home, they were gonna clean that fence line and the trees and stuff, and my husband helped them a little bit, and then after that, they threw what little bushes they started cutting, they threw it on against our fence, and after that, it's nothing. She's got a son, but I just don't want snakes and bugs and rats. And I will see them.
All right, regular agenda item A, discuss, consider possible action concerning proposal to create office space for RC&D to operate in the city of Granger.
Council, you received some information in your packet regarding RC&D, and I believe you're all familiar with the Resources Conservation and Development Corporation. You've been receiving funds from them. I believe most of you know Smith Covey, the Executive Director of the program. He has a proposal for us, and we think it sounds like a good idea, so I'm going to let him take it from there.
Okay. I do appreciate your interest, and thank you for your support. Appreciate it. I'm retiring, basically. Retiring full-time, it's be the second time I'm retiring. I may retire again later on down the road. I've been working with the RCD here since 2011 as the executive director when we lost our federal funding. But all RCDs across the nation, Congress decided not to fund that program here. And since the RC&Ds, there were 375 of them then, they are all nonprofit corporations, so they're independent. And most of us kept it on as it's in Texas, following Congress removing the funding for that program. What I've been doing is, as a contract employee with the RCD Council, as a private nonprofit corporation, I've just been managing their grants and helping them set up meetings and stuff. Our current situation, I'll let you know how it is. We have our hard files, which would be about 1 file roll in a regular size file cabinet. We have a phone, which is here, and I furnish a computer myself. And I've got all the files, I've got all the computer files and all that stuff that we're handing over. We have a bank account. City of Taylor furnishes us an accountant, and she keeps the checkbook and accounting in QuickBooks, which we own a copy of QuickBooks too. We will, whatever Catherine's talking with Andrew, I think, about a proposal to our council meeting on Wednesday afternoon about moving that stuff to Taylor. From Taylor to Granger. And I hope you want to support that, because I think it's a way to keep the RCD alive. And it being a nonprofit corporation that can do anything a nonprofit corporation can do, it's a tremendous asset to the region here. We basically cover the region from Coryell, McLennan, Limestone County, south to Caldwell, Hayes County. It's 11 counties in that strip. And I'll be glad to answer any other questions that you have. One other thing, we do handle the supplemental environmental program in this region from Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. And that's the funds you've been using for the cleanup here in Granger. So I'll be glad to answer any questions, or if you need more detail, please let me know.
Anthony, do you have anything to add?
I think it would be a great opportunity for Granger. I would be taking over in Smith's position, strictly as a volunteer. The only funding that's available for me to get paid in any way is if I'm writing a grant for the program, on the program, or any consulting that I do. So it wouldn't cost the city of Granger anything. And as it's been explained to me, Taylor's had this for a while, but Taylor's big enough that they don't really need to be able to show the public we have an organized interest in conservation, resource, and development. We're at a stage where in Granger, we don't have a category specifically dedicated for that yet, and it's moved into what's going to be a very busy next 5 years of growth and development. Having an association with a 501c3 like this is going to be very handy.
I make a motion on regular agenda item A that we accept the proposal to create office space for RC&D to operate in the city of Granger.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. Online. All opposed, please raise your right hand. Seeing none, the motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Don't forget, somebody has to serve on the council.
Boy, I would suggest if you're going to house the program that you have some representation on the council, on the RCT councils.
Well, we need to put that on the agenda.
It's not on the agenda right now to do that, so I don't believe the city council today could take action on that. We also didn't want to create that opportunity just yet because we still have to meet with their board on Wednesday, so that will come up on our next agenda.
Can I ask you a question? Is that something that councils appoint, kind of like CapCog, where you appoint someone? Or is that something where the board for RCD actually make that appointment themselves?
Our bylaws are organized so that our sponsoring entities, which Granger is a sponsoring entity, you pay your dues, you get the opportunity to name a representative to the board, to the council. And then it's pretty much a foregone conclusion to accept anybody who wants to be there. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Is that an additional position, or is it one of the council members at this time that is appointed?
Right now, our board's mostly county commissioners, but we do have we have a staff person from the city of Smithville who comes to our meetings. But most of the board is county commissioners. Our active counties right now are Falls, Milam, Williamson, and Bastrop counties. That's the counties that have representatives on the board.
That's not to say that a city council person could not be appointed.
City council could be, yes. That's why I brought up commissioners, because they're elected.
But that could also include members from the community as well.
But as long as they've got the designations from the city, that they are representing the city on.
So that could include the MDD or
Yes.
the administrative staff.
Or our city attorney.
It is, our bylaws are also set up so that other nonprofits can appoint members to the council. So it could be a very large group of people. It's not at all.
Thank you. Regular agenda item B, discuss, consider possible action concerning post of permanent signs at the city cemetery maintained by city employees.
Okay, I talked to Frank earlier last month, about them taking over the cemetery, and I commented what a great job they have done. I've also spoken to Andrew since then, and I would like to have a sign erected at the cemetery that literally states that these guys are taking care of this cemetery, and if there's any questions, they can contact City Hall with the phone number.
I support the move. This was something that I felt like we could do administratively. It's not that much money to erect a sign, but I would like council's input. If you would like me to, I'd be happy.
I like that idea.
I'll make a motion on regular agenda item B that we post a permanent sign for the city cemetery, maintained by city employees.
I'll second it
We
for
like the
discussion.
idea.
I'll second it for discussion. What I was gonna say is, if we do a sign, I'd like it to be something more than just a metal sign, make it where it's appealing for people going out there. That's my only concern with how we do it, make sure it's something that's soothing to people when they go out there.
Something dignified.
Yeah,
Our standard industrial
street sign.
Yeah.
Something like that, so that it stands out, so.
Okay. Is it,
I'm sure that,
You and I can work on
Yeah.
we can do that.
selecting that.
at the city administrator's discretion.
Okay, that sounds good.
Motion made.
All right, and second, all in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed by the same, seeing none, motion passes.
Motion to adjourn?
All in favor? All right, all opposed? Seeing none, motion carries.